10,000 fearless on the move.
Let's go! Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless.
Did you say Mississippi?
Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move.
Once again, what they moving at?
Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See, the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now, Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless.
We got all of
Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move.
Are you listening?
Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi. Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the
Yes, indeed. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, and welcome to the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Once again, I am your brother, your friend, and host, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad, and I will immediately begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We bear witness to the oneness of God, to the oneness of His prophets, and to the oneness of the scriptures that were revealed through them to the whole of humanity. Please allow us from the Holly Springs Study Group to greet you once again with the greeting words of peace in the Semitic language of all of the prophets, including Jesus. Assalamu alaikum. Those words simply mean, may peace be unto you. Brothers and sisters, we got a pretty packed program for you tonight, so we will be moving along swiftly. So I'm going to get right to those principles that we like to use to undergird every conversation we have on this podcast. It is really solely for information purposes, but we try to make the dissemination of that information entertaining. Tonight's broadcast, we will be dealing with the unlawful arrest that occurred in Senatobia, Mississippi. We'll let you decide once we go over the law. That's what we're going to deal with tonight. And we may be able to get to, was a hate crime committed in Holly Springs? I don't know. We might get to it tonight, but we got a lot to deal with, so we'll see how it goes. And the question I'm asking tonight, brothers and sisters, is, are black people safe anywhere? We get shot in our houses while we sleep. We can't drive. We can't go to the store. We get stopped. We get accosted for just living. We can't go in our own neighborhoods and move. We can't go deliver packages for reputable companies like Federal Express without getting shot at, particularly in Mississippi. Where does this stuff end? So our axioms for tonight, we want to first give from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where he says, "He who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes for you the circumference of your activity." End quote. The second one I'd like to give from him is the definition of a slave, where he says, quote, "A slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master." And lastly, I would like to give the one from Carter G. Woodson, where he wrote in his book, In the Miseducation of the Negro, when he said, "When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him to go here or yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there's not a back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary." And if you want to know more, end quote, if you want to know more about education, join us on our Friday night study group. The brothers and sisters in Marshall County and Mississippi and the surrounding towns are welcome to join us every Friday night at 7:30 because we're going over a study guide from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled The Education Challenge, a new educational paradigm for the 21st century. So we're going to move quickly, brothers and sisters, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back after these commercial announcements. Y'all hang on. We'll be right back.
It's 20 past 12. Chilling in the studio. Taking over the world. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I come in peace. I don't mean you no harm. I say assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I come in peace. I don't mean you no harm. I don't mean you no. See, I come in peace.
Shake's Famous Seasonings. Flavors for every occasion. Want to add a touch of authentic flavor to any dish? Searching for a unique range of seasonings that always put great taste on the menu? Welcome to Shake's Famous Seasonings. Whether you're a professional chef, passionate home cook, or a complete beginner in the kitchen, taste and flavor should always be on the menu. It's why Master Chef Rashid Muhammad has combined more than 30 years in the kitchen with a passion for mouth-watering flavors to create a range of seasonings unlike any other. Always gluten-free, so you can enjoy great taste exactly how nature intended. Versatile flavors that work with fresh fish, chicken, or vegetables from the very first bite. Authentic cooking experience that adds something special to any occasion. Versatile seasonings that are perfect for baking, frying, grilling, and plenty of tasting. Ready for real authentic flavor? When it's time to see just how delicious seasoned foods can be, why wait? With the click of a button, you can have 30 years of passion for food sent direct to your door. Just what you need to add flavors to every occasion and create meals that you'll always want to eat twice.
Place your order at sfseasonings.com. That's sfseasonings.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme, be supreme, drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water, 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314. What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot! No shoot!
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
And we're right back at you live here at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Once again, I am your host, Brother Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. And we are awaiting our brother William Muhammad to come to us with the farm report. Our sister Lynn Shell with the health segment. She's busy taking care of her patients, which we definitely understand. So we're going to miss her this week. But momentarily, we should be hearing from our brother William Muhammad, who will give us the farm report. But until he chimes in, which he should be chiming in shortly, we're going to just give you a thumbnail sketch. Well, as soon as I try to give a thumbnail sketch, there he goes. Let's see. We can get him in here. Hold on just a minute, Brother William. Where are you? Okay. I think we got him in there. Brother William, you there? Hold on. Brother William, you there? Let me get him on the loudspeaker. Let's do it this way then. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Assalamu alaikum. I'm not hearing him. Brother William? Okay, he must be in a bad area. We did get him in. Let me try him back. Maybe we just having a little technical difficulties or reception difficulties sometimes. Assalamu alaikum. There he is. Brother, I didn't hear you the first time. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go right ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, I start off with our national report at Mahoney Farm. So, of course, as I stated last week, the wheat and the watermelons are looking good. He does have some other crops out there. I think he has cantaloupes. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw some cantaloupes out there. We're getting ready for our Staple Goods 26, which was supposed to begin in September. So I'm keeping the people updated on that. As I get on the farms, of course. Also, we're going to go to our state farm. Still pretty muddy out there. We can't do anything as of yet. With a few more days, but we got some more rain coming in, so maybe probably another week or so before we can get back out there and try to plant some more. That bit, if it doesn't rain. In our local report, hopefully this Sunday, be the will of God, we can try to get out there and pull some of those weeds up. And I know we can't plant anything because the ground is still saturated. But we still got the eggs going. So even though we took a loss of our chickens, which I mentioned last week, but we still got some eggs going. And they're doing pretty good. I got another source on eggs as well. The guy where I get my chicken feed from, so they have natural organic eggs as well. So that didn't throw anything up. And I'm still waiting on Brother Gerald to get back with me on the bread. And hopefully this weekend we'll be able to get some bread, but I'll keep y'all posted as I get the information from him. And that's pretty much it, on the phone report for this week.
All right, my brother, man. We always appreciate your report. And I must say, brother, I appreciate you brought me a dozen of those. I purchased me a dozen eggs from Brother William this past Sunday. And he has some more. And look, those eggs look good, brother. So we appreciate it. And we're thankful that you are still on task with regard to our local, our state, as well as our national farm programs. So also, brother, inshallah, being the will of Allah, I plan to get out there with you this Sunday, brother, to help pull some of them weeds. So I'm going to come suited and booted, not only for the mosque meeting, but for a little agricultural work, all right?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, Brother Shaheed, Dr. Ridgely did ask us, we could also make a weed pulling festival locally as well. I just didn't call it the weed pulling festival, but we're going to try to plan a big event for that locally in College Springs. Yes, sir. So we're just trying to duplicate what we see being done at Muhammad Farms, like even though we're a little bit behind. And what I got going, instead of just putting the seeds in the ground to, wait until the ground dries up, I got some seed trays that I'm getting ready to put some soil in and plant some seeds indoors.
Okay.
And so by the time they get big enough to put out, it'll put some out.
Yes, sir.
That way we won't be too far behind on our summer season.
Man, that is excellent, Brother William. That night, when you said local weed pulling event, man, yes, I see our purple tent out there. We can load the purple tent up in the truck, get some chairs, and we go out there, man, pull some weeds. And when you get a little tired, you sit down under the tent and them chairs. We can bring some lemonade or whatever. Maybe even bring a little boom box and listen to a little music and pull some weeds. That sounds like fun to me. I hope everybody else feels the same way.
Yes, sir. We don't have a definite date yet. I'm going to, sit down with you and Brother Najee and Sister Lydia and see if we can do a group effort on it, with the men and the women.
Yes,
and then just try to go from there.
Yes, sir. Okay, my brother. Look, man, I applaud it. Sounds good. Brother, thank you once again for keeping us up to date. And inshallah, we'll hear from you at the next broadcast, okay?
Yes, sir. You're welcome. And thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. That was our brother William Muhammad with the Farm Report. That sounds like a great idea. Local weed pulling. You get the brothers and sisters out just for one day, and we take the tent up there, man, and set it up. And yeah, that sounds good. We can plan that, man. I hope everybody will be down with it. Sounds like a day of fun. The children can come out and help, take some photos, and just fellowship and have a good time. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's get to it. Tonight's program or broadcast, we're going to be dealing with an issue that has dogged the tail of the black community really for generations. Heavy-handed policing in our communities, where it not seems, it is a fact that where we are concerned, where black people are concerned, especially, they like to say people of color, which is true, but especially black people, though we represent only 14% of the American populace, whenever you hear of heavy-handed policing, excessive force, the victim is almost exclusively, dang near exclusively, a black person. I mean, it's over and over and over again. So the question we want to ask, was this arrest even lawful? Okay, I want to start by giving us some good information, hopefully. And I want to just create a backdrop for this. And I want to say to those who have tuned in already, thank you all so much for tuning in. The 10K Fearless family. Thank you, Sister Bree, Sister Audrey, Sister Marissa. I see you, Brother Laren. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you for coming on, and others who have and are logging on. And I see you all coming on. And Sister Lydia, thank you all, Sister Trish, and others that are logging on. Your call-ins are welcome. You're welcome to call in and give a comment. But before I make the call-in available, if you're on your phone, it's going to look red to you for right now. But once that bad boy opens up and turns green, I will be accepting call-ins for those who would like to chime in on tonight's subject. But I'll begin with this, dear family, and listen closely to what I'm saying to you, because I researched this. And not only did I research, I've been doing it for over 30 years. Okay. Now, all of us know that Lady Justice, you know the Lady Justice statue, right? It symbolizes the principle of justice. And when you see Lady Justice, she's depicted as being blindfolded, holding a sword in one hand and a set of scales in the other. A set of scales is elevated, holding him up, suspended. And in the other hand, she's got a sword. And she's blindfolded because justice is supposed to be, and I emphasize that because we're in America, supposed to be unbiased and should not be based on a person's appearance, class, creed, color, or station in life. Now, that's what the blindfold is. Now, the scales is used to balance the relative substance and value, or the weight, of the available evidence and facts and arguments on both sides of a dispute. That's why you got two sides to the scale. In this case, we are to look at the law and the officer enforcing it on one side of the scale, and the driver and her actions relative to the law being enforced by the officer on the other side of the scale. So now the question to be answered is simply, did this driver break the law? Not did this driver offend the officer? Because I can tell you, people will offend you. I've been offended many, many times, but I can't break the law because I'm offended. So that question has to be answered. Did this driver break the law? If she did, the sword that Lady Justice holds should fall against her. If she did not, the sword should fall against the officer for failure to properly enforce the law. Simple, right? So we're going to review Mississippi's handicap parking law. We're going to review what was published, what was said to be by the local news, the Senatobia Police Department's press release. And then we're going to answer some questions relative to the incident, okay? Now, I want to start by reading the Mississippi handicap parking law. And you can find this. The Mississippi state code, or the state statute, is 27-19-56. It's entitled Special License Tags or Plates, Persons with Disabilities, Decals, and Windshield Placards, Renewal, Enforcement of Parking Restrictions. I have to read this kind of stuff every day. In fact, I was reading something, not this, but we have what is called Tennessee Code Annotated. Laws most frequently enforced by a police officer, and we keep that book, at least we should, if we're smart. Keep that book just to verify whether or not you're in line with what the elements of the crime are. Now, if you would go into this statute and go under Section 5A, listen at what it reads. It says, it shall be unlawful to park a motor vehicle in an area set aside for persons who are disabled if the motor vehicle does not, 1, have displayed the removable windshield placard authorized in this section with the date of expiration visible. 2, have the special license plate issued under this section properly displayed upon the motor vehicle. 3, have the disabled American veteran tag or plate issued under section 2719-53 properly displayed upon the motor vehicle. 4, have the disabled Purple Heart Medal recipient tag or plate issued under section 2719-56.5 properly displayed upon the motor vehicle. 5, have the disabled Bronze Star recipient tag or plate issued under section 2719-56-.62 properly displayed upon the motor vehicle, or 6, have a license tag issued under section 2719-56.14 and bearing the special decal issued under subsection 1C of this section properly displayed upon the vehicle. Then it says, any person who unlawfully parks a motor vehicle in such areas or who blocks such spaces or access thereto shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction thereof shall be fined not more than $200 for each such violation. Okay, and I'll stop there. But it has some subsections now, because there's some exceptions. Now, when you move down to section 9 of this same statute, it says, parking in any area set aside for persons who are disabled is limited to such vehicles which, immediately before or after the utilization of such an area, are used to transport a person with a disability which limits or impairs the ability to walk. So what is that saying? That's saying if my mother has a car with a handicap placard, she can't drive, but she has a valid handicap placard, and I drive her somewhere, I can park on her behalf in a handicap parking space. Because it says, parking in any area set aside for such persons who are disabled is limited to vehicles which, immediately before or after the utilization of such an area, are used to transport a person with a disability which limits or impairs the ability to walk, meaning they walk with a cane or a stroller or something like that. It's just impaired. Then in section A under number 9, it says, for a vehicle used to transport a person with a permanent disability, that person's permanent windshield placard must be displayed. So it has to be displayed. Then at the bottom of B, it says, any person who parks in an area set aside for persons who are disabled in violation of this subsection shall be punished as provided in subsection 5, which means a $200 fine. Okay? Now, that's what Mississippi Code law says. And the recent one, it's 2024. It's been in force since 1972. Okay. Now we got the law, right? Now I want to move to read what the news say was published by the Senatobia Police Department. On May 11, 2025, it reads, at approximately 10:16 a.m., a patrol officer with the Senatobia Police Department observed a black sedan with Tennessee tags pull into a Walmart parking lot and park in a handicapped parking space. Okay. The officer made contact with the driver and asked if the handicap placard was in the car belonged to her. Okay, she asked if the placard belonged to her. So she saw the placard apparently, because she asked, is that your placard? It continues. It says, the driver of the vehicle stated that she dropped her grandmother off. However, the officer who observed the vehicle from the time it pulled into the parking lot and parked did not observe anyone exit the vehicle. Now, that's the officers. She says she never saw anybody. She observed the car from the time it pulled on the lot to the time it parked. She didn't see anybody get out. That's the officer's story now. It continues. It says the officer also observed that the front passenger seat had multiple items in it, making it unlikely that someone would be able to sit there. That is speculation. I recognize that in a narrative. Come on now. That's an assumption. Just because something is sitting in the front seat of a car don't mean that ain't nobody sitting there. That's why they use a language unlikely. Well, just as it is unlikely, it is likely. It's equally likely someone's sitting there. Okay? It continues. The officer then observed several young juveniles that were not secured properly in their seats. Okay, that's a side item. The officer went there to enforce a parking infraction. Okay? The officer then asked for the driver's identification. After several requests by the officer, the driver began cursing at the officer while shuffling through her car. Now, I watched that video. One of those is true. She did begin cursing, but cursing at the police is not an arrestable offense. In fact, it's not even against the law. That woman never shuffled through her car. She went through her purse, but she never shuffled through her car. So that is false. The officer then asked the driver, it continues, the officer then asked the driver to step out of the vehicle several times, and the driver refused to comply with what was a lawful order. Now, it's going to be questionable if the order was lawful at that point. It continues, and also pulled away when the officer grabbed her arm. Once out of the car, the driver became passively resistant. Now, it never says that the woman willfully got out of the car after being threatened with a taser. She got out of the car. But it just says, once out of the car, the driver became passively resistant by going limp and going to the ground. The driver then actively resisted the officer attempt to handcuff her. The officer began attempting to handcuff before the woman went to the ground. The way this reads, it sounds like she went limp, and then the officer tried to handcuff her. See, this is a tricky writing here now. Okay, but at any rate, let's continue. Where did I leave off? Okay. After several requests by the officer, the driver began cursing while shuffling through the car. The officer then asked the driver to step out of the vehicle several times, and the driver refused to comply with what was a lawful order, and also pulled away when the officer grabbed her arm, which she did do. Once out of the car, the driver became passively resistant by going limp and going to the ground. It says the driver then actively resisted while the officer attempted to handcuff her. During this time, multiple citizens gathered around the officer and made derogatory statements while the officer struggled to get the driver into custody. What does that have to do with anything? If were any of those making derogatory statements arrested? And if they were arrested for making a derogatory statement which is not against the law? It continues. Once handcuffed, the officers arrived and assisted with placing the driver into a patrol car and checking her for injuries. The driver, Breshari Faulkner, was charged. Listen to what she was charged with now. Disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, handicap parking violation. The Senatobia Police Department receives numerous handicap parking complaints weekly. Now, disorderly conduct has to be an offense whereby the person engaged in such behavior attracts the attention of the public as a result of her behavior or his behavior and disturbs the public. I question whether or not that charge applies here after watching the entirety of what was released of body cam footage. But that's their release, okay? Now, after we've read the release, where am I? Okay, I read the law. I read the press release. Now we know the law. We know the press release. Now, let's get into some questions, brothers and sisters, because the reason I'm doing this is in large part for us to hear what the law calls for and how an officer should respond. Now, I'm bringing over 30 years of doing this and having to refresh every year on law that we already know, as well as be apprised of new ones and changes to existing laws. Okay? So I'm not an armchair quarterback here. And I'm not tooting a horn, brothers and sisters. We need to, and this is out of genuine concern. This is not to disparage the officer or liberate the driver. This is to look at the truth. I'm reminded back during when Mr. Clinton was the president, and he was charged with a high crime and a misdemeanor for what went on in the Oval Office allegedly with Miss Monica Lewinsky. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did a lecture on it. And he, in words, gave a disclaimer of sorts to the audience that he was defending not Mr. Clinton nor indicting Miss Lewinsky, but he was defending the truth. And that's what law and justice should do. And I submit to you who are listening, that is my motive. What's the truth? As I stated, if her actions violate the law, then the sword that Lady Justice holds should fall against her. If she didn't break the law, that same sword should fall against the officer for failure to properly enforce the law. It's just that simple. It ain't emotional. It ain't about how we feel, how she feels, although she was clearly upset, or how the officer feels, which she was clearly upset. Okay? Now, let's get at some of these questions that I have. These are questions that I asked from an investigative standpoint. Question 1, okay? Was the officer justified in approaching the vehicle? My answer to that is yes. Nothing wrong with the officer going to check, make sure that the person that's parked in this handicapped parking space, if they've been getting numerous complaints about it, as stated in the release, nothing wrong with her checking. Okay. Now, the answer to that question, yes. Second question, was the driver's handicap parking placard clearly visible? Answer, yes. The press release stated that the officer asked, did she own it? And the driver in the video actually pointed it out to the officer and told her who the owner was, which was her grandmother. Okay? So we got 2 yeses. Did the driver give the officer information that if the officer sought to verify it, would allay her suspicion that the driver was illegally parked? Yes, she did give her information. The driver clearly articulated that she dropped her grandmother off at the front door of the Walmart and that she, her grandmother, was the owner of the vehicle and the placard. Okay. Now, question 6 is pivotal. Did the officer make any attempt to verify that information? No. She made absolutely no attempt to verify the truth or falsity of what the woman or the driver told her as it relates to dropping her grandmother off at the front door. She already see that the car has a placard. And effectively, now I'm not going to say that yet. I'll get to that. So the woman didn't, or the officer didn't make no effort to verify that information. Next question. Did the officer have, and this is what an officer must have, this to determine that a crime is being committed or a city ordinance has been violated or a parking or driving infraction, moving violation has occurred. Question. Did the officer have any articulable facts that prove that the driver was illegally parked? Answer, no. The officer's assertion that the driver was illegally parked was based solely on her suspicion, which was no longer reasonable when she saw the handicap placard properly displayed in the vehicle and giving a verifiable explanation of why she was parked there. Now, you heard me use the word suspicion and reasonable. In law enforcement, there's a term called reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion is the investigative step just before probable cause. Reasonable suspicion is the point at which it appears that a crime may have been committed. Reasonable suspicion does not arise to probable cause until an officer has enough verifiable facts that a crime has most likely been committed. Now, that's law. That's what we're taught. Now, no verifiable facts were present at that point. So the officer should have done one of 2 things. Okay, officer comes to the car, cool. Knocks on the window, cool. Ask, is that your parking placard? Yes, drop my grandmother off at the front door. This her placard, this her car. I'll move, the woman even said. The officer presses, the woman gets agitated. She says, you uffing with me for nothing. The officer continues, asks for driver's license. And the woman continues to cuss while going through her purse, not through her car. And at about the 3 minute and something mark, which I reviewed it, she gives the officer her driver's license. So yes, she cusses and fusses, but she does comply with giving her the driver's license. Now I'm going to hold that point right there. Now, question. The officer had, no, not question yet. The officer had no verifiable facts at that point. So the officer should have done one of two things. Okay? Verify the driver's explanation or go back to her patrol unit and wait and see if the person she referred to as dropping off at the front door comes back out of Walmart and walk to the vehicle. Simple. But the officer did not do that. The officer made an assumption. Her suspicion turned to an assumption, which is a degrade. It didn't arise to probable cause. She just went on an assumption. She said, you are violating the parking law. You're parked in a parking place, in words, unlawfully. Well, how did she know that? What facts did she have to prove that? I'm telling you, family, she had none. She had no verifiable facts that young woman was illegally parked. Now, the young lady gave her a verifiable explanation if the officer had simply taken another step and been patient to verify the truth or falsity of the woman's explanation. Would have been simple. But she didn't do that. Now, did the driver ultimately comply to the officer's command? Answer, yes, she did. If you go and review that video, after some passive resistance, she handed the officer her license, and that resistance was verbal. And after some passive resistance, and they admit it was passive. Passive resistance is the kind of resistance that does not require the level of force that you often see, sometimes which is lethal. But after some passive resistance, she handed the officer her license, which was verbal. And after further passive resistance, pulling away from the officer, and they said the officer was giving a lawful order. Well, if she was not illegally parked, it was not a lawful order. Which she was not illegally parked now. So at that point, it was not a lawful order to order her out of her car. But she got out of the car after she was threatened with a taser under her own power. The young lady gets out of the car. Now, it's important to note this, family. Now, listen to what I'm saying to you. Listen carefully. This was not an automotive or a traffic stop. Why? Because an automotive stop or a traffic stop requires that the officer have what is called probable cause, which the officer didn't have probable cause. She just had a suspicion, which was not even a reasonable suspicion after she approached the woman and saw the placard. Her suspicion degraded, or the reasonable suspicion she might have had degenerated to just plain old suspicion based on her personal feeling. So this wasn't not a traffic or automotive stop. This is what is called a Terry stop. Now, Terry stop only requires a reasonable suspicion. Notice it says reasonable suspicion, which effectively ended when she saw that the woman had a handicap placard. Now, did the person, this is the key question here, question 9, did the person that the driver says she dropped off at the front door come out to the vehicle? Answer, yes, she did. So if the officer had just taken one further step to verify, which could have been easily verifiable, if she would have been patient, what the young lady told her that she dropped her grandmother off. Grandma came to their car wearing pink and a Sunday hat on a cane, saying, Lord have mercy. So now the ultimate question, was that driver unlawfully parked? No, she was not unlawfully parked. She was lawfully parked, because the explanation she gave to the officer was the truth. So that arrest was an unlawful one. And I don't care what gobbledygook or slick language and verbiage that they try to push in Senatobia based on what the statute reads in the state of Mississippi. That sword of justice should fall against that officer for failure to properly enforce the law. Now, there's a term in law enforcement circles that is called that it wasn't coined among police officers. It was coined by the public. When officers get mad because they get talked too slick and get cussed out, and they don't have no probable cause or reasonable suspicion even to arrest the person or give them any kind of citation, the only thing that the person is guilty of is contempt of cop. In other words, have offended the cop's sensibilities. And this is the kind of profession, brothers and sisters, you simply can't be in your emotions. You can't. Now, the ultimate question, and I'm fixing to open the line for call-ins. And let me look at the dashboard. I see a lot of people on. Brothers and sisters, thank you all. I see you, Brother Simo. And I'm fixing to open up the line for those who would like to call in. But this is the big question. Because we answered the question, was the driver lawfully parked? According to the statute, that woman was lawfully parked. Okay? Because if the premise or the reason the officer approached was because she thought there was a parking violation, and there was no parking violation, then all of this subsequent stuff, resisting, pulling away and passive resistance, that cannot be enforced because that is what is called fruits of the poisonous tree. The poisonous tree is the misidentification of her being illegally parked. So when that falls through, none of the other charges can be applied because all of the other charges is based on the initial charge of being unlawfully parked. That's how that thing goes. So now the question is, what should the Senatobia Police Department in the city of Senatobia do? What should they do? And I asked, what should they do? Not what they're going to do, because the two more than likely going to be very, very different. But what should they do? And man, there's a lot of people on tonight. Yeah, I wanted to hear about this, huh? Well, that you're hearing it, and I'm not shooting from the hip. I'm reading their statute as it is written and asking investigative questions that would help determine whether this was lawful, did this woman break the law, or did she not? In my humble opinion, well, I shouldn't say my humble opinion, based on what the statute reads and based on the body camera footage and what the young woman did and did not do, and what the officer did and did not do, and the truth of the young lady's explanation of why she was parked there, the fact of the matter is that young woman was legally parked, period. So the question for all of us is, what should the city of Senatobia and the police department do? What should they do, family? So there you have it. The lines are open. And of course, the dashboard, if you want to type in your comment, I will gladly read it back to you and read it to the listening audience. If you have a question, I would gladly read that question and do the best that I can to answer it. I got somebody trying to call in already. This is my brother Simo. I'm going to receive him in. He is the president of I think Tate County?
Lee County.
Tate County NAACP. Brother Simo, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Salam alaikum salam. It's Lee County.
Lee County, that's right. My bad, brother. Lee County. What say ye? What say ye, brother Simo?
Well, I say that they should do the right thing, and that is because of the statute and how the statute is worded, it should be adjusted. I mean, the what they have a charge with, those charges should be thrown out and withdrawn.
Of course.
And but as I have had to do in the past, when dealing with people such as this and organizations such as this, I stick strictly to the statutes and not a color issue or not a female. In other words, I stick strictly to the statutes and the policies.
Exactly.
Therefore, when I don't argue outside of the lines of statute, and in
Mm-hmm.
doing so, it keeps the clutter of what they will try to throw at you many times just to keep it fogged up and throw you off the main point. So
Right.
therefore, you really can't rule. I had a call trying to come in. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I had
sir.
a call
I got
come
you.
in.
I got you loud and clear, brother. You good?
Yes, sir. So that's what I've had to do in advocating. I'm not an attorney,
Uh-huh.
but I've learned to just stick with what the policy says,
That's
the
right.
SOP,
Mm-hmm.
or in the statutes of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with those and keep them very fervently well explained
Mm-hmm.
and to the T. Now, at the lower court, the justice court may not throw it out, but you
Uh-huh.
can always appeal it to a
That's
higher
right.
court.
Right. And
What I've done
uh-huh.
is actually had the community to raise money so that they can go to a higher court once if the lower court, which is justice court, and many of them are always friends with each other, the law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't, but I found out if you do sit-ins, many times they won't rule. They'll rule and they do what's right
Uh-huh.
once you do sit-ins in courtroom.
Yes, sir. And see, Brother Seymour, that speaks to the cohesiveness of our community. I was, as a matter of fact, I contacted Brother Lumumba down in, he lives in Senatobia. And I shared with Brother the information that I just read to you all. And I think whatever Brother is doing to try to bring justice to this issue should be supported. But as you just stated, Brother, as long as those who are with Brother or who would be supporters of what's right, stay within the confines, leave the emotion out of it, leave the background noise out, because in the press release, Brother, and I find it interesting, they're trying, in my humble opinion, to clutter the issue by mentioning the crowd gathered and begin to
Yes, sir.
make derogatory statements while the officer was in a struggle. In other words, trying to create a narrative that the officer was operating under hostile circumstances. Well, the
Yes, sir.
circumstance between her and the driver of the vehicle. And you notice my language. I did not use the ethnicity of either side. I said officer and driver.
Mm-hmm.
Officer
Yes,
and
sir.
driver. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with we're dealing with an officer and a driver and a vehicle and a person that was dropped off that was the grandmother of the driver. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But when they throw this thing in about a crowd gathered and start making derogatory statements, see, that's muddying the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's saying that the young woman was shuffling through her car. Well, a review of that body camera footage does not show that young lady shuffling through her car. She was going through her purse to retrieve her license.
Mm-hmm.
And see, our people need to be, this is why, see, brother, Brother Simo, when we're armed with facts and information, it's very difficult to fool the public, because democracy, rule of the people, is what it means. At least that's what they say it means. It presupposes that the people who rule must be enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
And to the degree that we are ignorant, brother, and there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. If you don't know, go read the law. Just go read it. If you can't understand it, get people in the community. There are attorneys in Senatobia that are in the black community, or someone that's knowledgeable enough that can review the law. And we sit down amongst ourselves and say, wait a minute, let's see, was the law broken here? Because, see, they make it seem as though, well, you're not an attorney. Well, do you really have to? Well, if you got to be an attorney to determine where and where not to park, dang, we'll never park anywhere.
Right.
Come on, man. So, brother, to me, clearly, based on what the state statute reads and the body camera footage that captured the event, this young lady did not violate a law. She did not. And the subsequent passive resistance, the disorderly conduct, all of that stuff is subsequent what the officer alleged that she did in violation of the parking statute, which he didn't violate. All that stuff gets thrown out. Yes, sir.
I'll say this, my brother, is that a police officer, if he or she chooses to, can find anything to write you a ticket for.
Right.
Anything.
Mm-hmm.
They can write you a ticket for, say, for instance, resisting arrest. If you move your head too fast and swing it around, and they told you to sit still, they can turn around. You're resisting arrest.
Mm.
In other words, anything they deem necessary for, they can do it at the moment until somebody in the courtroom says it's not acceptable.
But you know what, Brother Simo? In every statute, in every state in this country, it has in there definitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell you of almost certainty that the law gives a definition for what resisting is.
Yes.
And based on the definition of resisting in that statute, that is what the criteria is to determine whether or not someone is resisting. And you can't resist arrest until the officer has developed or observed probable cause to arrest, first of all, before you can resist arrest. In other words, in Mississippi, as I understand it, they don't have just a stop and frisk. You walking down the street and the officer can just arbitrarily tell you to come here, and if you refuse, you're resisting arrest. You're not under arrest. That is called a consensual encounter. And you have to give consent to the officer. And you can revoke that consent when you have not broken the law. That's why I tell young brothers in Memphis, don't run from the police, brother, if you've done nothing. Don't run. And that's what our people need to understand, the difference between a lawful stop of you and an unlawful stop of you. You can't impede a person's progress or movement simply because you have a hunch about something. You haven't received a call. I don't fit the description of nothing. And I'm going to tell you, brother, that's a lie that Officer Some will tell. Well, you fit the description of a so-and-so and so-and-so and so. Knowing that you're not going to go and verify it. So they use that as, as a basis to just stop and frisk people, and I'm not against it because, see, look, this is the kind of behavior, brother, and I'm going to share with us some things that I have experienced and that have happened in the news, that this kind of police behavior is starting to manifest. That thing that happened in Cleveland, Ohio, brother, with Mr. Hinton, that didn't happen in no vacuum, brother. Very, very tragic, very tragic. The poor officer lost his life, man. That's somebody's father, somebody's probably grandfather, uncle, brother, cousin, all of that. But what has been the catalyst? What has built up over generations? Whereby, particularly in our community, our people are beginning to feel as though they don't have anything to lose, man. I'm not saying it justifies it, but the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us this. He said, injustice gives birth to insanity. Because when a people and a person feels that they've lost, this man lost a son. He watched his boy. He watched his baby get gunned down. And what was shown, according to reports thus far, it's very questionable as to whether or not the officer should have even fired.
Yes.
And this has been a pattern. This is what the black experience has been in America for about 470 years, man.
Yes.
So now our people, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I remember a lecture he did, brother, where he addressed this. I think it was during the time where Eric Garner was choked out and a whole lot of stuff was, and the minister asked the question, what are you trying to force us to do? Because when an entire community, not a few people, brother, you're talking about an entire community, gets to the point where they feel they have no recourse or no avenue whereby their grievance can be heard. They're dismissed.
Yes.
Then you're creating an incubator for incidents like what we saw in Cleveland, Ohio.
And I think it's planned, brother. It's actually systematically planned that in the event of the oncoming things, once you release the dogs out, you can tell them which yard to go to because they're going to go wherever they have senses to go.
And to be honest with you, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Once that happens, whoever gets in the dog's way happens to be the innocent victim that the dog now preys on, but the dog is trained from that perspective of that guided system on certain particulars. And if you're one of those particulars, then it's kicked off. And guess what next? Now they're bringing in the big guns. Now they're bringing in new laws. Now they're bringing in new regulations that goes against that community, which was already set in place to happen. They was planned for it to happen.
Yes,
but until you have someone that doesn't go along with the system, that stands up, one of the dogs come up, he ain't biting. No, he's not biting because he recognized that's not a threat.
Yes, sir.
So that dog is now removed from the pack.
Yes. Yes, sir.
You know, so, but we as people, as you said earlier, we need to understand the law. And once we understand the law, something we can use as, I plead the fifth. I mean, baby, Papa's on the phone. Can you go back with Nana? I'll be in the house in just a second, okay? Go in the house with Nana.
That's cute. He got something to say. Grandbaby got something to say, man. Yes, sir.
But my point is saying is that one thing will help us, my brother, and you've already said it many times, is for us to know the statutes. We don't have to be so emotional every time we have an encounter with a hostile officer or with someone that we feel. Sometimes when we said that our rights are violated, sometimes our rights have not been violated, but they're so close to the edge of violation.
Right.
And some officers will use that to take you over to the violation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to escalate
they will
because
agitate.
they understand you don't know. So guess what they do? They keep picking you until they get you to a place where they now can arrest you.
Exactly.
And charge you.
And you know, brother, so you said that it's being facilitated. And to be honest with you, this thing that happened in CJ's Lounge in Holly Springs, as I watched the behavior of that male patron, the Caucasian man, it's clear to me that he was agitating in that place that night. It's clear. Not only was he using the N-word, the video clearly showed him push someone, but prior to that, he was throwing his hands up in a way that suggested something based on my experience. I saw it for myself. You know what I'm saying? And then I know how, and there are a lot of other elements, and that still is an ongoing investigation from what I understand as it relates to a hate crime. And I even pulled up what the legal definition of a hate crime is. Go look it up, brothers and sisters. This stuff is accessible. Go and look up what a hate crime is so you won't be running around asking people. So when they come out with the results of the investigation to determine whether or not that actually happened, they can't sell you a bill of goods and sell us as a community a bill of goods. And I'll also say, brother, see, hatred in America against black people has always been organized and well-funded.
Yes.
And organized and well-funded hate will always defeat disorganized love and brotherhood.
Yes, sir.
Our problem is there are those who are fighting for the liberation and for justice for us that do love us. Our problem is we're not organized and we are not funded the way we should be.
Right. Exactly right.
That is the problem.
I don't care how much prayer we give, brother. I don't care how much prayer and fasting we give. Unless we organize, mobilize, strategize, and monetize our efforts, we move nowhere.
That's right, brother. That's right. We're fighting a lion with a penknife, and the outcome of that is a foregone outcome. But yes, sir, brother. But further into this, I have, brother. Again, to those that are listening, yes, you're free to either type in, and I have one that's typed in. I'm gonna go ahead and read it from Brother William. He asks, wouldn't a law enforcement officer have to tell a person that they are under arrest and read Miranda rights to that person first? Well, it depends upon what state you're in, really. Okay. Now, there's something called a legal detention, which is not an actual arrest. Official detainment. Okay. If the officer has probable cause to detain you, and he has articulable facts as it relates to officer safety to detain you, then it's a legal detention. It's not an actual arrest. Like in Memphis, Miranda doesn't happen until after the officer has probable cause to make an arrest. That arrest is made, and if it's a felony, that person is taken to a location in Memphis 170, and an investigator would Mirandize that person before questioning them, asking them accusatory questions about the law that has allegedly been broken. Okay? So, I mean, that varies. That varies. So, but the thing that's my concern, brother, is this. Where this thing that's happening throughout the Delta, really. You know, and I know some people are saying about the thing in Holly Springs. It shouldn't have happened to that gentleman. You know, it shouldn't have. You know, if he didn't put his hands on nobody, and even after he did, what the video showed, man, it shouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of it is, you go and agitate a group of people, you know, and they respond, and you physically begin to assault them, and they respond. Well, what do you expect? And then I hear their silence. No one is talking. Well, my mind goes to, well, ain't nobody talking about what happened to Rasheem Carter.
No, sir.
Don't nobody want to come forward on that? Don't nobody want to come forward? I mean, my man, Mr. Perkins, they ambushed that brother, and the tow truck was at the wrong house. They look, they blew this man's life away on the front lawn of his own house.
Of his own house.
And the officers did not do a knock and talk, though they concealed themselves while the tow truck, which was at the wrong house, backed up to this man's truck. He had every right to come out and investigate, because in his mind, why are they pulling my truck? I'm not behind in my payments. And this man loses his life.
Right.
So you've developed an attitude in our community where, look, you ain't turning over those who engage in wrongful behavior among your people, so why should we? Matter of fact, I remember something just came to mind when they asked the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan about Marion Barry. Marion Barry was caught on camera smoking crack, brother. Wasn't no question as to whether or not he did it. But they want to throw a microphone in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's face and ask the question in words, do you think a man that is found in a hotel room with a woman that is not his wife and smokes crack should hold public office? Listen at the minister's response. He said, who you talking about, John F. Kennedy? So,
well,
brother,
that took the cake right there.
So, yeah, bro. So we can say essentially the same thing.
Yes.
As it relates to those among our people who engage in what is viewed as wrongful behavior. I'm not saying it's justifiable, but look, as a man soweth the same, he also shall reap. You sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. As you have done, so shall it be done unto you. So I'm not going to be the one to, well, I want to be an honorable fool and go and turn my brother and sister in. Don't even tell me. I don't know. So I have plausible, and see, and a lot of people will take issue with this. Well, that ain't right. Okay, then, fine. Take that position. But the reality is this. They don't correct their wrongdoers. So how dare they demand that we correct ours when their sensibilities are offended? You know,
I'm with you.
So, you know, brother,
1,000%. If it ever been a percent, I'm with you 1,000%. We have got to quit covering. We have got to quit throwing our own children out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
When they sometimes don't even bathe, but they keep their children safe.
Right. See, brother, that's why, you know, we need to close ranks in our community. That's why we started something called a Real Talk Tour. This is what that is about. It is to talk to our brothers and sisters amongst ourselves in closed door meetings with no cameras and no interviews, no media cameras at least. If we want to document it, we document it. And if we want to publish it, we publish it. But we wanted to go through Mississippi, brother, and have meaningful conversations with our young men and our young women in the community to get between the guns and the gangs and the beefs to create avenues and an infrastructure in each of our communities where these brothers and sisters can settle these disagreements without it erupting in gunfire and the loss of life. That's our responsibility as a community. And no one organization can do it by itself. It's going to take a collective effort from all of us, brother. That's what it's going to take. And it's going to take a willingness on all involved to calibrate the ego back to a point to where we have operational unity. And I know, boy, I know that what I just said probably made a few people wince. But the reality and the truth of the matter has been historically one of the biggest Achilles heels of unity among black leadership has been egos, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's been egos, and it still is.
Yes.
So all of us in our own little huddles doing our thing, you know, and we spiritually set tripping. I call it spiritual gang banging. And then we got enough nerve to talk about the gangbanger in the street doing drive-bys, but we do spiritual drive-bys on one another. You know what I'm saying? And why should our young people listen to us? So, brother, I'm a little excited about the whole thing, man. I know you probably kind of hear it, and the audience probably kind of hear it in my voice. But brother, this thing, man, is going to reach the point of explosion, and it has already. We are starting to see explosions. The first one, the most recent one, not the first, the most recent one in Cleveland, Ohio, with Mr. Hinton, and some years ago. In West Memphis, Arkansas, brother, back in 2010. And during that time, myself and some of the Muslims, I was still in Mosque 55 under the leadership of student minister, now Abdul Muthakir Muhammad, and he dispatched us to West Memphis. And we were regularly selling the Final Call newspaper over there and working to build a study group. We were starting to have meetings. We were just beginning to bud. No, I wouldn't even say bud. We had just planted the seed over there, really, and was trying to take root. And some things were happening locally, and I got the opportunity to meet the local officials and the current mayor over there. Know him, have talked with him. He got my phone number, I got his. And the brother he's working, and I wished him well, and it looks like he's doing admirable work in West Memphis, Arkansas. But brother, during that time, it was in the wake of the Deontay Farrell shooting. Okay, that happened in 2007. Well, some things transpired. They had got to the point, brother, where they were doing traffic stops, where they would have a contact officer and a cover officer. The cover officer would stand at the rear of the traffic violator with the AR-15 held at the low ready. This is on a regular traffic stop. And my thing was like, my God, man, does it take that? So some of the city council persons kind of confided in myself. I said, that's going to create an atmosphere of angst for drivers. And West Memphis is on a major interstate thoroughfare. So there are going to be people come through here that if that happens to them, I mean, that's some stuff that's a powder keg waiting to happen. Yeah. Well, brother, unfortunately and very, very tragically, into the summer of 2010, I think it was, they stopped a white minivan. I was at work that day in Memphis, and my area of patrol was downtown, right just over the bridge in the Harbortown area. We heard the broadcast go out. Be on the lookout, white minivan occupied by two male whites responsible for shooting two West Memphis police officers on Interstate 40. I was like, oh my God. And I had just had this conversation some days or a few weeks earlier about the potentiality of this kind of thing happening. And unfortunately and tragically, man, the police chief's son, I think Pollard was his name, the chief. His son's name, he was a sergeant, Brandon Pollard, and another officer, Bill Evans, man. They got shot down, man. And I'm not saying that the decisions made to have an officer with an AR-15 outside on a traffic stop caused it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that the kind of behavior, the heavy-handed policing tactics, the unnecessary use of force in a lot of instances, that's clear. Mm-hmm. And then they bring these so-called experts that use a bunch of, I call it gobbledygook, legal jargon and word jousting to try to make us believe that the actions of some of these officers were above board and justifiable. No, sir. Policing is no different than any other profession. On every job, brother, I don't care if you take out the garbage. Even the garbage taker outers, they have some coworkers that just don't do their daggone job. Mm-hmm. I'm sure those listening, and if you do you have a coworker that work with you that just don't do their job? Type a 1. I'm gonna see how many people type 1 that's online. That's if you're logged in. If you're not logged in, you can't type 1. But those that are logged in, if you work a job and you have some coworkers that just don't do their daggone job, type a 1. And I'm getting 1s. Because that's true in every profession. Well, policing is no different. Not only do they not do their job, they don't know their job. So you have that in every profession, and policing is no exception. Man, look, I'm getting all kinds of responses now. Because, and the thing of it, Brother Simo, man, if we as a community, because in truth, as I shared with a brother over the weekend, it's really to the point that it's on us, brother. It's on us. Yeah. Because we are appealing to these local governments and these local police chiefs, and that stuff is going to continue to fall on deaf ears. So we can't appeal to them anymore. Not in the way that we have been. We can't protest in the way that we have been. We need to have a more sophisticated form of showing our disapproval of how they're handling us. And that entails what you said, brother, what you just said, Brother Simo. Organize and monetize it to where you have an effectively organized community of people that are the watchmen for the community, and to ensure that we are handled properly. You know what I'm saying? Yes, so, sir. But yes, sir, brother. Yes, man, look, I might as well have invited you onto the program, Brother Simo. You think so?
Well, either way, brother, I'm always, if I can be here, I will. Man, I tell you one thing that I've done since I've been the NAACP president here in Lee County, and I just got elected to my 3rd term, and it's 2 years each time you get elected.
Yes, sir.
Is that I have purposely went into the rooms where they didn't want us, where we haven't been, and sat down, had conversations with them all, and asked my chair people to go in and have conversation with them. And I've said what I mean what I say, and we've stood on it and developed relationship with people in our community. So if something does happen, they know that we're not just going to show up and make a ruckus and go away in 3 weeks.
Right. There you go. It has to be sustained.
So they understand that. So now, what I will say this here, each one of them knows that one day we may be on opposite sides of this thing. Although I'll sit down and eat with you, if you offended my children or my community, you just drew the line.
Yeah.
So now we have sit down and broke bread together, but that doesn't mean you get a pass when you come and lawfully, unlawfully.
That's right.
Violate my community.
Absolutely,
we're
brother.
Coming and we under understanding that one day we may be on the opposite side of this. Although we're sitting down now in the boardrooms and traveling places, one day we may be. So I keep the main thing. So I have to be a meaningful relationship. But when time comes to take care of business, we take care of business.
Absolutely, brother. You know, just because we know each other's children and, you know, we went to this gathering together and we shake hands and you pat me up. No, brother, that don't mean you get to come amongst my people and just dog us. No.
Exactly.
There has to be a level of respect. And in my humble opinion, brother, I think black people in Senatobia need to begin to leverage that dollar and weaponize that bad boy by withholding it.
Uh-huh.
And that is a tactic that historically served black people well. We have a historical precedent where we saw with Medgar Evers, with Dr. King, where the black dollar is a powerful weapon against tyranny and oppression. But why won't we use it? You know why we won't use it, brother? We have become a slave to materialism and comfort. And we refuse to be discomforted and inconvenienced in the name of the struggle. Of course, until we are victimized by the tyranny and oppression that we talk about. When we're victimized by it, then we want, you know, the support that we should give to others who are victimized. And another issue, as I mentioned about the Real Talk tour, we got to begin to talk to our young brothers, man, you know, because it's difficult to advocate for us when we are doing what we're doing to us.
Yes.
And then that's one of the things they'll try to use. And that's one of the excuses that some among us use to justify remaining idle and doing nothing. That's why when you heard our brothers and sisters say Black Lives Matter, you hear some of these Negroes say Black lives don't matter to black people. No, that's an escapist mentality. Escaping what? Escaping the responsibility to stand up for what's right.
Yes. Well, this how I address it, my brother. When that happened with me, they said Black lives have to matter to black people. I said, now, why you said that is true, but why you even came to that conclusion, you don't understand that it has been systematically put in your head that black people don't like black people.
Right.
With the root that caused you to think that black people lives don't matter to black people. Why is that? Why does black people even think that? Before you said that and added to the cause of the people that actually system that put it in place in your head, so you won't even fight for yourself.
That's right.
So that tells me that you're colonized structurally and mentally, unfocused on the salvation of your own community, that you was give up and allow your community to continue to be demolished because you said people don't. So you feel you are without hope. So now you speak to the cause of the ones that are actually destroying you and don't even know it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, dear brother,
baby,
man,
come back.
Brother, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna do these commercials and then we're gonna come back, man. It is 8:23. I normally stop at 8:30. So, Brother Simo, man, we certainly appreciate you calling in. For those that have tuned in and are liking the program, as many of you, man, thank you all for jumping on with us tonight. We're not quite done yet, but we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be right back. Thank you, Brother Simo. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Shake's famous seasonings, flavors for every occasion. Want to add a touch of authentic flavor to any dish? Searching for a unique range of seasonings that always put great taste on the menu? Welcome to Shake's famous seasonings. Whether you're a professional chef, passionate home cook, or a complete beginner in the kitchen, taste and flavor should always be on the menu. It's why Master Chef Rashid Muhammad has combined more than 30 years in the kitchen with a passion for mouth-watering flavors to create a range of seasonings unlike any other. Always gluten-free, so you can enjoy great taste exactly how nature intended. Versatile flavors that work with fresh fish, chicken, or vegetables from the very first bite. Authentic cooking experience that adds something special to any occasion. Versatile seasonings that are perfect for baking, frying, grilling, and plenty of tasting. Ready for real authentic flavor? When it's time to see just how delicious seasoned foods can be, why wait? With the click of a button, you can have 30 years of passion for food sent direct to your door. Just what you need to add flavors to every occasion and create meals that you'll always want to eat twice.
Place your order at sfseasonings.com. That's sfseasonings.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com. Taste the difference. Taste supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme Spring Water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water, 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. Theurbanindulgence.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
And we're back live. Man, we are about to land the plane for tonight's episode of the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Just want to mention with the Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique, failed to mention after the first jingle, they've changed locations, man. You can now find them at 6075 Winchester Road. That's 6075 Winchester Road here in the city of Memphis, inside of the Hickory Ridge Mall. You can also find them located inside the Painted Tree. That's at 8045 Giacosa Plaza. That is across the street from the Wolf Chase Galleria here in Memphis. And there's a third location that they just opened, yo. They're in Madison, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. And I'm telling you, that store is popping. So if you're in the Nashville area, just outside of Nashville, you can go into Madison, Tennessee, to the Painted Tree there at that location. Please, brothers and sisters, support us. Make sure you subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. You can get it at our location there in Holly Springs. We're out on the block all the time. You can also come by our location at 165 North Memphis Street, or you can subscribe. Give us a call at 662-252-8999. Join our emailing list. You can email us at dremuhammad1@gmail.com. Drop us a line at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Post Office Box 517, Holly Springs, Mississippi 38635. Please support us by coming by and get you one of those teeny beanies, that Supreme Bean Pie. And seeing my brother Najee Muhammad, man, the people down in Tupelo and other areas been sampling that bad boy, and they are in love with it. Now we keep them on hand regularly right there at 165 North Memphis Street. Come by and get your teeny beanie. The teeny beanie is a little small one, personal one, and you can just make a donation, and we will make sure you get one of those. And tonight, I'm asking you, brothers and sisters, we want to stay on the air. And this is a nonprofit broadcast. So we fund this bad boy with donations. So we need your help. We want you to donate to us. We're up to renew our account, if you will, with the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. If you want to support us, and we're asking you to support us, send it to our Cash App, mine, and we will pay that bill and make sure we stay on the air to continue to give you the kind of information that we've been sharing on this platform. Cash App at $, capital A, capital S, capital MUHAMMAD. That's $, A-S Muhammad. Send it to us, brothers and sisters. Send us a donation and help us to stay on the air here at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. One way or the other, we going to make it happen because we need our own platform to tell our own stories and to control our own narrative. In North Mississippi in particular, that's where we are situated. So we just got to drop our bucket and do our part right where we are. So we certainly thank everyone for tuning in tonight. It is our prayer that something was said to encourage us to stay the course, that will aid us in our spiritual growth and development and inspire us, most importantly, to get involved. And there I typed in the Cash App that you can send your donation to for this 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Again, that's $ A-S Muhammad, MUHAMMAD, if you want to support us. But until next time, brothers, I think I'm going to go ahead and land this plane. There was a lot more to talk about that we didn't get to regarding this thing that happened in Holly Springs that's being depicted as a potential hate crime. But we did cover enough of it, I do think, because it's an ongoing investigation. And in the wake of that, in the backdrop of that, I want to get us involved in this Real Talk tour. Shout out to the brothers down in Tupelo, to the brothers, the OGs of the GDs that I've been in touch with, Brother Teddy, Brother OG J-Rock, Brother OG Capone, and those brothers that may be listening. Shout out to you all, man. To our brother Main C, who is always doing good work down there in Tupelo with the conservative vice lords in Yaga. You are always on our radar, brother, and we are prayerful that Allah, Almighty God, will protect you all in your comings and goings and the work that you do. We pray that you stay the course. And, of course, the beautiful community of Muhammad Study Group 78A in Holly Springs, the believers that are always supporting this broadcast and supporting in general the work that we do is for the community. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to land this plane. I'm telling you right now, we certainly appreciate you for coming on. And in closing, we always want you to remember that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this to us, quote, "No one can attempt to help our people do anything productive and constructive without feeling personal hurt, pain, loss, being evil spoken of, falsely accused, sometimes beaten, sent to prison, or even put to death. This is the path of Jesus. This is the path of Muhammad. And this is the path of every sincere person who wants to see his or her people delivered from our present condition." End quote. Always remember that, brothers and sisters, and always remember that self-improvement is the basis for community development. Until next time, we leave you as we came with the greeting words of peace, of Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up.
See, the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now, Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi, Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the